facilities, but over at Forest City, we have been making it a priority to, like Anton said, be visible, let the staff know that we support them, and just pretty much doing anything that we can to kind of just replace the the lack of that we have when it comes to staff on the direct care. But I mean, everything's going as well as it can be, and I'm excited about everything that we have planned moving forward. And I guess we just need to go hard and continue to provide that support in any aspect that we can.
Thank you, Ms. Hope. Does anyone else have anything to add about their staff, about staff and recruiting and retaining staff?
Just one other thing. Sorry, just one more thing that I would add is that was just a really cool experience for myself and some of my leadership team was when we had some snow there for a hot minute, where there was a lot of staff that were like, I can't make it in. And so, I'm coming down from New York where this was just a fun opportunity for me to drive around in some snow. I got an F-150, so I have a good time, but I went around for about 3 days there, picked up quite a few staff for the shifts, and it was just a great opportunity to, one, servant leadership, but two, just getting to know them. It was cool. Like, there's some, in my position, I get to see them. I say hi, day to day and things, but as far as being able to just really sit down and have a conversation with them for a little bit, it was just a really neat opportunity. So it was a big deal for me, I think, and hopefully it meant something to them as well. So.
Thank you, Derek. Chelsea, you were trying to speak?
Yes. So one of the things that I wanted to mention was that I've seen kind of across the board with all of my facilities, and I know staffing is an issue right now, but it seems more so during those evening and overnight shifts that seem to have issues with excessive call-ins. So we see a lot of people calling in on those evening shifts, and I was curious how each of the facilities are addressing it, and if there's any ideas that we could bounce around, because I know there's some that are still struggling with it. I know pool works a little bit differently at each agency, but most of the time what I get from agencies as well, our pool people don't usually come in at nighttime. They're usually our daytime shift. We don't have a whole lot of people we could pull for pool or available in that pool because they can only work certain days, certain hours to work at nighttime. So we see a lot of out of ratio in the evening or overnight shifts. And if they are, what are they doing? Or is there any incentives for people to get called in, like their day shift, get called in and have to come in at nighttime? Are you giving them an extra incentive or a bonus for coming in at nighttime when they weren't scheduled? Like, I'm just curious to see if anybody has any thoughts on that to kind of help everybody out.
I feel like I'm talking more now than I have probably on any of these calls so far, but so you'd mentioned bonuses. That is something that we've done. Like if it's something that we're just really hurting and we've tried and we didn't get much of a response, we'll pull that out if necessary. I've walked around with gift cards sometimes on shifts, especially second shift, to just be like, you know what, I really appreciate the fact that you came in and you did this. Just, it's not all the time, so it's not like they expect it every time or anything like that. But and something that we've done a little bit more infrequently, but and we've done it on both shifts. But just having like a food truck, we'll take an order, or we'll order pizza or something like that. It's for the girls and when it's pizza, it's for the girls and the staff. But we've done food trucks for the staff of like, you know what, we really appreciate you. Like this is, you don't get a lot of love sometimes, but we appreciate you. So just things like that, I think, have been helpful for us.
Thank you, Derek. And certainly feel free to speak as much or as often as you want to in this group.
Hey, this is Charlotte, the CEO at Perimeter Forest City. Our leadership team has worked the evening shift, not in ratio, but as a support staff, and each person has to take one day a week to be there during those off hours just to offer assistance. And that has worked. We did it initially, but we are about to restart that. And also we do as a last resort, because money is always a factor when doing things, but we do offer a $75 bonus if they're willing to take additional shift. And we do it as a last resort, because we want them to be able to do it because that's what they want to do. We don't want to tire anybody out, but certainly, when there's more money involved, they're going to do it. And we don't want, I always tell them all the time, don't get fired on your off shift. So if you're willing to do it, and it can be a win-win situation for us and you, then do it. Don't do it because you want the money, you're tired, and you're going to do something that may be detrimental to your job.
Thank you for that. So next on our agenda, we have a guest from the Division of Children and Family Services. His name is Mr. Avery Carter. And Mr. Carter is here to talk about some of the time frames, like when maltreatments are received on a staff member or someone within your agency, and there's that time frame of when you expect to get a finding. So Mr. Carter is here to talk about that a little bit.
Good morning, everyone. As you said, I am Avery Carter with Division of Children and Family Services. I am the program administrator over several units, including our central registry and now our release of information unit. The release of information unit is new in our division. This unit is responsible for all records and correspondence as far as investigation determination letters. So I want to talk to you all just to kind of explain the process of receiving notice if an employee of yours is under investigation for child maltreatment. As a residential facility, you all have the right to request that letter. So ideally, the person who is the subject of the investigation should provide it to you, but for some reason, if they do not, you can request a letter at the completion of the investigation. So the best way to handle this is sending an email, which I can put in the chat here shortly, but the email address is arabuse@records with an S at dhs.arkansas.gov. If you will send an email to that email address with the alleged offender's name, date of birth if you have it, and if you have the investigation referral number, that would be even better, which sometimes I understand you may not have that. But if you would just send an email and let them know that person works for your facility and the investigation is over and you need to know the outcome, we can provide you with a letter stating what the outcome of the investigation was. Now, I do want to just explain that this investigation had to have occurred at your facility with one of your employees or a kid. It can be a personal matter. So an employee has an investigation on their own children at home. We can't release that. But if anything dealing with your facility, we can give you that determination letter. Any questions so far about what I just said? Anybody need me to repeat anything? Because I know I talk very fast. So. Okay, well, Michelle, I think that's all I pretty much had. I just want to make sure they understood their process and how they can request the determination letter if they have not received any information. If the investigation for some reason is still pending, we can let you know that this investigation is pending and we'll advise you to check back in later.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carter, for jumping on and providing us that that information for the agencies.
I do see one question.
Yeah, question in the chat.
How long after sending an email will we get the letter back response? I would say within a couple business days. Depends on how many requests we're currently working. But I would say within a couple business days, you should receive a response. And I'll also put my email address in the chat as well, just in case you have any issues. Feel free to reach out to me if you cannot get the letter after you have followed the protocol of emailing this email address I listed above, and you did not get a response. Feel free to go up the chain and come to me, and I can assist you the best I can.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. So based on kind of what Mr. Carter is saying, so if staff are involved in a maltreatment investigation, it's probably best that when they speak to that investigator, that they ask for that referral number and make sure they have that investigator's name, you know, at least their first and last name. So if they need to reach back out, they'll know who that person was. And more importantly, you guys will have that referral number at the end of the 30 to 45 days to reach out to the email address that Mr. Carter has provided to you all. Does anyone else have any questions or comments related to maltreatments? Okay. And we also on our call today, we had the background check unit, the regulatory check unit, excuse me. So if anyone has any questions for them, now will be the time where you could either type those in the chat box or ask those amongst the group. Okay. So next is we'll talk is the Collaboration Nation, and this is kind of where we share. And today we kind of did Collaboration Nation already. We talked about staffings and employees and ways that we could possibly keep everyone keep our staff morale up and try and maintain the staff that we have and bring in new people, and hopefully they'll stay with you guys. And I also wanted to give everybody a shout out for and pat you on the back and tell you thank you for how you have diligently reported your COVID numbers to our specialists, keeping them abreast as much as possible. And we are so thankful that the number of COVID cases are going down in the state. So again, thank you all so much. And I think you guys are probably breathing a little sigh of relief that the numbers are reducing in the communities and within your agencies. So again, thank you so much for providing that information to us on a weekly basis. And then also I wanted to thank you all for, I know our specialists are contacting you weekly, like on Fridays, and asking you to give us information about your census and other things. So again, thank you so much for getting that information to them in a timely manner. Clayton or Chelsea or Austin, do you guys have anything that you would like to add or talk about?
I will. I also want to give a shout out to the facilities I've been going to. I sent out an email letting everybody know that here in this first quarter, I'm going to start going through and getting all of the current employee lists and getting through our background check reviews to make sure all of them are there. And we've started running that FBI with the new legislation that came through. And I'm gonna knock on wood, but every facility that I have gone to so far, and I spend time there and do 20+ background check reviews on employees, and I haven't ran into a single issue. Everybody has been doing a phenomenal job at making sure that those things have been done and completed, and the FBI checks are getting ran, their staff are getting their fingerprints done. I'm just been very impressed with what I've seen so far. And to the ones that I haven't got to see this quarter yet, I'll see you soon.
We have a question in the chat about census numbers. Renessa said, may we ask why we are asked about our census numbers?
Sure. Every week there is a interagency meeting with other divisions where they talk about psychiatric residential programs, kind of what's going on in those programs. And as a part of my report that I send to the assistant director, I'd like to include the census in that at the facilities. So that's why that information is being asked.
I had a question. I'm sorry, my phone was acting a little weird, but I had a question for the background checks. So there was something that came up, and it was regarding a background check that read provisional. And I know that I spoke with our HR director, Ms. Carla, over at Fort City about this. And can staff work, you know, if it's provisional? We don't know when the background check is going to come on. Is that something on that staff's behalf, or is that, you know, the background unit kind of, there's some issues with it? So I'm just trying to get understanding of like why it reads provisional for an extended amount of time.
Part of that, there's some, maybe Ms. Smith may jump in and speak, or Ms. Burr or someone, but part of that may depend on if they have out-of-state maltreatments or out-of-state background checks that they are waiting for. So that could possibly send it into pending status. Cindy, do you have some other answers for that question?
Yeah, a lot of times it's when they get their fingerprints done, if they're done, or if it gets rejected. Anything, like you said, out of state maltreatments, if the maltreatment is not complete yet, or if it's a maltreatment from maybe almost 2 years, but it's still good that we don't have access to, a lot of times that's what'll hold it up. If you ever have anything that's sitting out there for a while, feel free to email us, and then I can get back to you and I can let you know exactly what we're missing, so that you can get on it and you can get that back to me so we can get that done. You know, our goal here is to get everybody adjudicated the very next day of the day before, anything you run the day before. That's to get them in the pending status, into the provisional status. Anything after that is 4 days later, we'll go back and look if that FBI was ran. Hopefully the FBI was ran, hopefully that the maltreatment is ran, so we can get them fully approved. Sometimes if they have something on their background check, we have to send out a letter. That letter goes out. We give the applicant 20 days to get the information back to us. Sometimes that's what holds it up. So, you know, there can be a lot of things that hold it up. But like I said, if you have any, I just need transaction number and ask why this is being, you know, held up. And I can email you back and let you know exactly what we're waiting on.
And I would like to add
Thank
something,
you.
Cindy. You did a great job. When it comes to fingerprints, if they haven't gotten fingerprinted, that could still be put, you know, have them at a provisional status. In the NICAR system, if you look beside the word FBI, if it says fingerprint pending, that can inform you to know, like, hey, I need to get this staff fingerprinted. But if that says complete and they're at provisional, we're waiting on a maltreatment, an Arkansas maltreatment, or an out-of-state maltreatment on those. But feel free to give Cindy or I a call or an email and we'll take a look.
Definitely. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. That helps a lot. And I'll make sure to communicate this to our HR department.
And then Cindy and Brenda, quick question for you all. So how many days, like if they're just pending after I heard Cindy say about 4 days, but at how many days would you ask someone to call you if that person is just still sending in a pending status?
I would say within a week, no, as soon as they get their FBI done and you see next to that FBI, it says complete. If within, I'd say 24 hours, you don't see that I've changed the status, definitely give me a shout because like I said, we go back and we look at it 4 days later to see if that FBI has come in. If that FBI hasn't come in, they go on a spreadsheet. We send out an email to you all letting you know that, hey, fingerprints are not completed. We need those done. Then basically from the day that letter goes out, we give you 45 more days. That's calendar days to get that FBI check completed. And if it isn't, then it'll go into that not approved status. But we send out an email letting you know what we're needing. If it goes an extended time past that 4 days. That's why I always say it's kind of important that once you run that background check to go ahead and get that fingerprint scheduled so that within that 4 days, I can go in or we can go in and we can get this, you know, done within 4 days and you can have that approval. Like I said, the biggest thing that's going to hold you up is if you need out-of-state maltreatments, especially Texas. Texas is running at least 3 months behind, because their first process in the beginning of December is what I've heard. So Texas is one of the biggest ones that's going to hold you up.
And just feel free to email Cindy or I, and then we'll take a look. I mean, once you've noticed that FBI says complete, just say, hey, Brenda or Cindy, you know, please take a look at this. They've gotten fingerprinted and we've gotten our maltreatment done for the state of Arkansas. And then we can look at them that day.
Okay. And Ms. Hope, I think you asked me if staff can work in provisional status. Was that your question?
Yes, that was my question.
And the answer is no, they should not be working in a provisional status.
Okay, I got you.
All right. We're at our question and answer, which we're doing that right now. Wanted to remind you guys of the board meeting next Thursday at 1:30 p.m. So if you guys have things that are on the agenda that you need to that someone needs to be there for, then we ask that you come in, and we'll reimburse for your parking if you park in the parking deck. We've tried to streamline the process in order to keep things more private a little bit. So again, if you have to be at board, we would be happy to see you next Thursday. I don't have anything else. I want to thank all of you for participating in this meeting, and I hope that they are beneficial to you guys. And I like it being on a smaller scale outside of the large provider calls for all the residential facilities, because there are some things that you guys deal with that some of the other providers don't. So this gives us a chance to brainstorm and talk about things on a smaller level.
Speaking of that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead, Brady.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see everybody. Brady Seraphin from Mill Creek. Speaking of the collaboration nation and the opportunity to collaborate on this smaller scale, one of the things that we used to do where I came from was our providers would meet monthly independent of licensing in other entities. Not that our licensing folks aren't great, not that we don't welcome their engagement, but it was really more about operations and talking about programmatic stuff and things of that nature, and how we can collaborate together outside. Something like what we do here at Mill Creek, right? We put together a basketball team, and we're interested in playing other facilities, and we've done some of that already against Little Creek, but we would like to expand that circle. So my question is there any interest from this group in terms of putting together maybe monthly or every other month, this kind of forum, just as the providers though, so we could have those opportunities to kind of problem solve and brainstorm about programmatic or operational things that are outside the realm of the state. And I'm happy to kind of coordinate that if there is any interest in doing that. But I don't want to waste folks' times either. I know everybody's busy and they've got things going on, and you know, we all have staffing struggles. But one of the things that I have found most helpful actually with some of these staffing struggles is when we can improve and engage programmatically differently, do things outside of what we normally do. Like the basketball games for us, honestly, was an incredible morale builder. It brought a lot of normalcy to our facility, not only for the kids, but for our staff as well. And they were energized by it, and we were able to run that for quite a while, to be honest. So if folks are interested, I can start an email loop kind of from this group here, and maybe that's the best thing to do is just I'll throw it out there to this group and see if folks are interested. If they're interested, we can coordinate this kind of meeting in a couple of weeks or something.
I'd be interested.
Yeah, I think that could be really helpful.
Definitely, especially at Forest City. I think it would be awesome to implement something so great. And honestly, we could see a decline in behavior, a decline in, incidents, because they have something, bigger to look forward to. So that is an awesome idea.
Well, excellent. What I'll do is I'll take this email list, and again, not to exclude our licensing folks, but I'll just include the facilities, and we'll start a conversation dialogue there and set up a meeting. I'd love to do it in person at some point, but understanding where we're at as a world with COVID and everything else, probably virtual is the best way to do it right now. And as things continue to improve, maybe we could do something in person. I'd love to meet everybody in person at some point.
Well, thank you, Brady, for taking on that. And I hope that everyone takes advantage of that and you guys get to work together and come up with some solutions for your programs outside of this meeting. So that's something exciting that I would like to see for the PRTF programs.
Shay, can I make a clarification, please?
Sure.
You said the board meeting is actually Thursday. It's actually Wednesday, February 23rd at 1:30 p.m. here at the main office at 700 Main Street here in Little Rock.
Okay, yes, they used to be on Thursdays for so long, and now they have recently switched to Wednesday. So thank you for clarifying that for everyone.
Absolutely.
All right, and if nothing else, I'm going to give you guys some of your time back today. I'm sorry, in our meeting in March, we will have another guest speaker, and that person will kind of talk about meals and diets and menus at their program, and some ideas that you guys may be able to implement in your programs as well. All right, well, thank you guys so much. And have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.